All right, welcome back to Cheesehead Chatter. On today's episode, the Brewers made a blockbuster trade and signed a couple guys. The trade deadline's today. I don't know who the Bucks are targeting, but somebody's going to end up in a Bucks uniform that we weren't expecting. And what should Packer fans expect from Jeff Hafley and the new staff? It's going to be a fun, aggressive staff, so let's talk about it. But before we get started, we must thank our presenting sponsor, Insect Hobby Design Co.
Once again, this episode is brought to you by Insect Hobby Design Co. Insect Hobby Design Co. has over 20 years of expertise in branding, design, illustration, and web development. Insect Hobby Design Co. brings a wealth of experience to the table. Whether you're a small business aiming for a standout identity or a nonprofit aiming for profit enterprise seeking impactful visuals, their team is here to elevate your brand with precision and creativity. We would also like to thank them once again for giving us these awesome microphones we use. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
To learn more, go to insecthobby.com.
Thank you, Cal.
My pleasure.
So everybody knows the Brewers dealt Corbin Burns for DL Hall, Joey Ortiz, and the 34th overall pick. I'm pretty intrigued by this trade. I know initial reaction for everybody was pretty split, but it's been about a week, and this is going to look like a pretty good trade for the Brewers. What do you think, Cal?
Yeah, I mean, to start off with DL Hall, he's left-handed pitcher. He's one of two prospects in Baseball America's top 100 that has an 80 grade fastball, with the other one being Jacob Mizorowski, as well as a 70 grade slider. You could say he's a left-handed version of Freddie. Vinny Rotino came out with a tweet the other day, a little comparison of the two, very similar in mechanics, very similar in stride. And I think one thing I really like about DL Hall is he just has that fastball that he's not afraid to use, especially up in the zone, gets it up in velocity, especially as a reliever, but we most likely expect that to drop 92, 95 as a starter. He reworked his slider last season, which added more velo, lost drop, but the sweep on it still stayed the same. He has a really good changeup to right-handed hitters and similar windup, tempo, and fastball to Freddie, like we said earlier. So shout out to Vinny Rotino for posting that video. He has a long arm action at times, but the Brewers are known to shorten arm pass like we've seen with Corbin, Freddie, Eric Lauer, just to name a few guys. And that's what I got for DL Hall. If you guys want to add anything else, feel free.
Yeah, I just think this is a smart move. Like, I get it. Everybody's a little irritated the Brewers traded Corbin. I know. But he's made it very obvious that he wants to be a free agent for a couple years now. So you got to do something to add value back to your team. And getting 6 years of control on DL Hall and 6 years of control on Joey Ortiz does exactly that. Not only that, Ortiz is a top 100 prospect. Immediately slotted in as the Brewers' fifth-ranked prospect. He's going to take over at some point for Willie at short because, unfortunately, I just don't see him getting re-signed. But, going back to Corbin, he even got on the Foul Territory TV podcast the next day and said it's still going to take an astronomical offer for me to sign an extension. So I get being frustrated because you thought, this could be a big push this year. The Brewers always make these moves. It's about the future, too. It's not just about right now. And clearly they see something in DL Hall to do this. And they definitely see something in Joey Ortiz that everybody sees. Defensively, the bat's going to play. It's just a good move. It is what it is.
And I really like the timing of this deal too, because they made the mistake with the Josh Hader trade. Yes, everything goes back to that trade, but I like the timing of this trade just because it rips the Band-Aid off. It gets everyone kind of ready and understanding of the direction of the team before they start and go off to spring training. It kind of sends that message. That way everyone is kind of on the same page. And it is still a very competitive ball club slotting both of these guys in. These are two major league ready prospects that just have been backlogged in Baltimore, especially Joey Ortiz. Going around looking and doing some research, people put him as the easy floor for sure guy out of Baltimore that at least will come in, play very good defense, put the bat on the ball. He's starting to add a little bit more exit velocity while he hits now too. It'll take up his strikeouts, but he still puts bat to the ball, and he has a Gold Glove caliber glove, and that is something to be really intrigued about.
Something else that I see is that it really puts what the Brewers think about Freddie Peralta. They truly see him as an ace now after his second half last year, which was just amazing. I mean, there's so many starts where you're like, wow, Freddie is that guy now, and you want your best guy at as your ace, and now they're just like trying to slot guys behind him. And I think Gasser can make an impact. I mean, Ashby's coming back. DL Hall's not bad. I mean, you have a lot of rotation pieces that Corbin Burns technically was expendable, and it seemed like he was done with the Brewers in the postseason after he gave up those home runs to the Diamondbacks in the wild card.
And I really
Yeah, it looked like
like
he was serving up BP.
Oh yeah, and I really like Freddie to step up and be that leader. He's such a positive impact in the clubhouse, and I really think the young guys will be able to gravitate towards him because he's an established big leaguer at this point. He's what 26, 27, 28, roughly in that range.
I think he's 26.
Yeah, he came up as a really, really young guy, but now he's earned his stripes in the big leagues. He's really figured out his mechanics. He's figured out who he wants to be as a pitcher, and I really feel like he's a guy because the Brewers were putting all their chips in him, giving them an early deal as a younger guy, and I really feel like he's going to live up to that investment that they put into him early.
Yeah, I just like the move. I think you think about what not Freddie, what Corbin's probably going to get this coming off season, and knowing his agent is Scott Boras, he's going to price himself out of a lot of markets just because of who his agent is. I've also seen people bring up, well, does Reese Hoskins sign if the Brewers traded Corbin in December? Well, his agent is also Scott Boras, so clearly he knew what was going on. Like, this deal reportedly has been on the table since December. This isn't new information. It also tells me that the Brewers, like they always do, moved quietly and cerebrally. Like, they evaluated probably a ton of offers. And I'm sure if the Giants' offer would have been anywhere close to Baltimore's offer, they would have taken it. But you also got to understand, you're not going to get a team's number one, number two prospect for a dude that's a rental who wants to be a free agent.
In some organizations, Ortiz and DL Hall would be a top 3 guy in some of these organizations' top prospect rankings. I saw that some teams.
No, I think we're losing Jay-Z here, but
Uh-oh.
I think what he's getting at is like DL Hall and Joey Ortiz
Don't even have any in the top 100 with either Baseball America, Pipeline. There
we
you go.
lost you there for a hot minute.
It's all good. With most of these guys, they're going to be like Joey Ortiz and DL Hall would be top of the line prospects for some of these ball clubs. Because if you look at Baseball America rankings, Pipeline rankings, you name it, everyone has their own list. There are some teams without top 100 guys, and these both would be at the top of some organizations' lists.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So
Also,
I get the initial shock of it, but you got to do what's best for the organization.
I got one more thing with Ortiz. Like, just because the only knock on him is he doesn't hit for power. Not every single player in your lineup has to hit for power. There's the one hole that can hit for contact. You got your 7, 8, 9 guys who just need to get on base, play defense. As long as he can hit the fastball, he will be better than Bryce Turing. And right now he's the second baseman. And I don't see a problem. Like, yes, we know that the Brewers love glove first guys, but Arnold is saying that they also want bats, and they see something with his bat to make that move to acquire him.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
He's a guy who was never going to make a true impact with the O's. It always felt like he was a stopgap guy there. I mean, we all know Jackson Holliday's coming. Gunnar Henderson's already
arrived.
Yeah. Like,
he's done more than that.
Yeah, and Mayo is coming as well. Like, Mayo's not far away. So the Brewers have the problem of a lot of good outfielders. The Orioles have a lot of good infielders. So this move just made sense for both sides. But the Brewers weren't messing around. They trade Corbin, they get DL, they get Ortiz, and then immediately this week they signed Jacob Junis for a 1-year, $7 million deal. He's kind of a swing man. He'll make some starts. He'll be in the pen. The dude's slider is unbelievable, almost unhittable.
Disgusting. It is an above average major league pitch, and for him to have success, I feel like the Brewers are really going to hone in on his below average fastball. Below average is being very, very, very nice and generous with that. He has that plus slider, but man, does his fastball do absolutely nothing. So hopefully the Brewers will be able to find something when they be able to go under the hood, look at the track, man, look at all his metrics, and being able to tweak some stuff as Hook has been able to go doing time in and time out with Major League pitching.
And I think
I
he
mean-
just fits that mold of a Brewers pitcher. Having that one true outlier pitch, especially the slider, which the Brewers like their pitchers that have, they can work around his tools. We've said it in the past, we'll keep saying it, but to have that one slider already be a really good pitch in his arsenal, they're going to be able to build off that for sure. And he's gonna have some solid innings for us this year.
Two really
I
good
mean-
examples, Cal, is Piguero and Piamps from last year. Just
Absolutely.
right before Gabe has his comment, I had to throw that in before I forgot.
Yeah. We're talking about the same ball club that employed Colin Ray in the year 2023 and got some quality innings out of him. I
And they
mean,
could do it again next year with him.
they
Julio
they can
Teheran
do
gave
it.
us 2 months.
Mhm.
Exactly. I mean, knowing that Jacob Junis has been an established major league pitcher for a little bit is more than you can say for Colin Ray. So it's not a bad deal by any means.
No, and Junis has been around a long time. He knows how to pitch. And then just recently, a little bit of a shocker, I think, to all of us, because I thought we were done with moves at catcher. But Gary Sanchez for a 1-year, $7 million deal, there is an option included, like always with Milwaukee.
It's the Brewers way.
I think it's a mutual option. I can't confirm that though, because I didn't see it. But you scroll around on X and you just start laughing a little bit because everybody focuses on one thing: batting average. It's 2024. Batting average is not high on the list of things that professional organizations look at. It's not even super high on what I look at as a college coach. Like, the dude hits for a lot of power. He is who he is. He's got a 780 OPS. That's pretty much what we're looking at.
I
He
mean,
had
last year,
250 at bats and 19 home runs.
looking up at the scoreboard, we were barely breaking, what was it, 750 at some
Yeah,
points?
yeah,
Mhm.
that's
generous.
That's top half of the Brewers.
Mhm.
Like 780. He hit 19 home runs in San Diego. And a lot of people know in the industry that Petco Park is not a very forgiving ballpark to hitters. So hitting 19, if it was away, oh well, but like he still got to a 19 total with the San Diego Padres of all teams.
Yeah, I thought I saw it would be like fifth on the Brewers. His 780 OPS among players that played 50 games.
That's crazy.
He's a DH.
So,
that's what we need.
yeah. I mean, in reality, this deal is to sign him as a DH, catch every once in a while. The Brewers aren't the first team in Major League Baseball to carry 3 catchers. And this feels more like the JD Martinez, where like JD Martinez is technically an outfielder. The dude hasn't played outfield in years. And when he does, it's because
Watch
something
out.
horrible has gone on. So let the dude swing the bat. This Brewers lineup all of a sudden got really fun again.
A lot of toolsy guys that are very good at doing one specific thing good. Like a lot, like it's either they're very good with the contact or very power heavy. Like it's a good mix and match to have within like a full lineup because not everyone's gonna have all 5 tools that they need to be able to go out and hit 350 with 40 home runs or whatever people expect everyone to do. There's not everyone's perfect. Like it's the game of baseball. It's very hard, and to be able to go out and be able to do complimentary baseball within each at bat, get on, move them over, steal a bag here and there. It's complimentary baseball, and that's how the Brewers have to operate.
I'd say going into this offseason, this team had what? 2-3 main holes. Third base, which Tyler Black's coming up. Who knows what we'll get with him.
Ortiz will play
base.
third.
First base went out and got Reese Hoskins and DH. And they have so far filled those needs with depending on Tyler Black. So yes, the rotation has gotten a little bit worse, but we also lost Brandon Woodruff to a shoulder injury, which can't control that. But we still have Freddie. We have serviceable arms in there. This team's gonna be just as good, if not better, next season. Which
That
I know.
bullpen's filthy. Get to
Yes.
the 5th or 6th inning, and
Yes,
we have
exactly.
guys. Our B and C bullpen is better than some teams' A+ bullpen guys. Like, watch out. These guys are filthy.
I do think the Woodruff injury threw off the timeline for a lot of things, and the Burns trade is definitely one of them. You know who I think the signing of Gary Sanchez actually takes the most pressure off as long as he's on the roster? It's Willy Adames. Willie
doesn't have to
now
bop.
doesn't have to hit 5th.
Yeah, that's very true. You can drop
he
him
can hit
down, and
6th.
yeah, that's a lethal 6-hitter right there.
Like, he went from a dude that's like, oh, I've got to hit big gaps, I've got to hit the ball of the park, to I just need to get on base. Like,
Stay within
if we're
himself, play good defense, quality at bats, and just let his bat play. Because once he connects, I mean, he has what 30 to 35 within that stick. He's gonna punch out a lot. It's just who he is, but he's got a lot of thunder in that stick. And if the pressure's off of him, I really feel like he's gonna have a big bounce back here.
and if Churio, Black, and Ortiz play up to expectations, this lineup gets really long and it gets really tough to pitch to.
And there's
Turang
depth
still
there
has to hit a
too.
fastball.
Yeah. Do you guys think
it's
that
just
this signing could
fine.
potentially lead the Brewers to trading one of Weimer, Sal, or Garrett?
I'm on record that Weimer should be moved, so I'm going to stick with that. And I do think there's a pretty obvious landing spot, and that's Miami. Miami is
Yeah.
in desperate need of outfield help, and Weimer fills that. Let's go Weimer and Zamora, because now Zamora's he's blocked and he's never going to get to the show with the Brewers. And from what it sounds like, the Marlins are kind of done with Edward Cabrera. He has not continued to progress like they thought. They've got Yuri Perez. It just kind of feels like Cabrera's the odd man out there. So let's kick the tires on that. And at worst, he becomes the number 3 starter. And in the lab, he could easily bump back up to 2.
Even worse than that, back end bullpen guy. He throws 100, so he's gonna
Yeah.
he's tall, throws 100, so there's innings for him at some point, some way. And if that's the price, I'm willing to exchange that all day for Edward Cabrera.
Something that I don't know why. I just always feel like Garrett Mitchell's that odd one out. I feel like Sal is a better hitter, and I feel like Weimer's a way better defender. And if you're gonna keep Mitchell or Weimer as your 4th outfielder, I feel like defense in that 4th outfield spot fits better. And I feel like Garrett Mitchell has more value just based off the fact that he can hit better than Weimer. So I wouldn't be too upset if they decided to go trade Mitchell over Weimer, but obviously I wouldn't be upset if they went and traded Weimer over Mitchell. But I think one of them will get traded, but it's just a matter of who.
I
My
think the guy
biggest thing-
that's
Go
off
ahead,
the
AJ.
block is Freelick. I don't
Oh, yeah, he
they're
is
not going to
canceled
give
in
up
the
on
yeah,
him
100%.
this quick.
Yep,
So really it's Weimer or
Mitchell.
Mitchell. I mean, Blake Perkins is still serviceable in the outfield too.
He's your perfect last
He's a great
man
pinch
off
runner.
the bench. Yeah, he's your perfect last man off the bench. Gives you quality innings out in the outfield if needed defensively in a pinch run situation, like Gabe just said. And he's not like I don't want to say an easy out, but like he still is able to put up quality at bat and he does the little things right, and he's the perfect guy that you want. He's almost new Jace Peterson. I'm proclaiming him new Jace Peterson.
He is Gary's official pinch runner in the 8th/9th inning.
Yes.
I mean, we ask this all the time, but as we've quickly found out, the Brewers are never done making moves. So now the question is, what's the next move? Any thoughts? What do you guys think the next
I
move is going
think
to be?
honestly the next move is to address the outfield. Honestly, they have to figure out, they have to choose a direction and just stick with it. No more him and then Han. Oh, he could outplay him. He could outplay him. I think you have to just choose a direction and ride with your guys, because otherwise, I feel like there's going to be some tension that might be brewing, because some guys might feel like they deserve innings more than other ones after they've been handed all these innings, and then they might not perform. I really think you just have to lock in on the guys that you feel 100% on, and then just ride it out with those guys.
Yeah, I think they go get a starting pitcher in another maybe closer to that, 2-3 range. Just throwing it out there, Blake Snell's numbers were much better when Gary Sanchez caught him. We're getting close to the point where we're 2 weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting, and Blake Snell still doesn't have a team. 1 year, 2 year, 17 to 20 million a year. Seems pretty doable right now for Milwaukee. That Johnsonville money seems to be hitting differently. So, a couple guys lost their jobs from the Brewers, though. Ethan Small gets traded for good old cash considerations.
The boy.
Darn. Sad to see him go.
Yeah, he just never developed that third pitch. And then Clayton Andrews, he's DFA'd. I guess we'll see. They'll probably find someone to take him for cash considerations.
Still waiting for him to
Maybe
get that last out in
international.
Pittsburgh back in July.
Maybe that's what we're waiting on for him to get some cash considerations.
Get that last
It's
out,
my
must move.
favorite. My favorite player. Cash considerations.
Almost good as a player to be named later.
Aw, his best friend.
There's just something different about seeing the words cash considerations. Player to be named later is too long.
I'm waiting for someone to actually be named cash considerations to come through. Around the league, though, Bobby Witt Jr. got the bag.
Good for him.
11 years,
All get the bag.
$288.7 million with 3 options, but the 3 options are years like 7, 8, and 9. And if all options are exercised, it's like $314,777,777.77. If you didn't know, he's the number 7. That's just Royals move there.
Interesting.
It's the 3rd largest contract in baseball history, but per year it's not bigger than Tatis. Which
I
is
feel like
interesting.
it fits exactly where his value is, especially for that organization. Good for them investing in a guy that they drafted very high, developed, and has really started to come into his own as a big leaguer. They have their quote unquote aircraft carrier, a mainstay franchise guy, locked him down. Good on the Royals. Now let's have the Brewers do the same to Contreras, please. Please.
Yeah, I saw someone trying to compare this deal to Michael Harris II. And I think the position premium plays a huge factor here. Like Harris got a great deal. The Braves do what they do, though. They sign him really early before you explode. Well, the Royals did kind of waited, and he exploded for at least a 30-30 year.
It was 30-30, yeah.
I mean, Witt's going to stick at shortstop his entire career. Well, I mean, like naturally late in career, probably move over to third a little bit more. But I don't know if you really compare these deals because, like, Michael Harris hit 9th for Atlanta and wasn't expected to carry the lineup like Ronald Acuna is. Bobby Witt is kind of expected to carry that lineup with Vinny. So,
Vinny P, baby.
shout out.
The boy.
I mean, honestly, it's good for baseball to see a team like the Royals throw out a lot of money to someone that they invested in early. I mean, he's a high school draft pick, so of course he's gonna get more money and more years than a guy like an Adley Rutschman, just based off the fact he's younger. What is he? Adley's 26 now, so he's 3 years younger.
Yeah,
I just
Adley's
Yeah,
26.
Adley's 26.
Because I just looked up Witt's 23. So, and it's just it's just really good to see that small market teams like the Royals are going out and putting money into a guy like Bobby Witt, who I feel like deserves this contract. He played really well last year.
Absolutely.
100%. Cal Altuve got extended. 5 years, 125 mil.
Go get the bag. I mean, he deserves it. I think Ben Verlander is going to love that as well. You know that. But
Yeah, between that deal and Shohei, I don't know if
Yeah.
he's getting up anytime
He might be
soon.
exploded.
Yeah. He's head over heels for those two. But I mean, the Astros retain their guy. He's one of the best second basemen of all time. So well deserved.
Does he get into the Hall of Fame?
I think so.
Ooh, probably.
Yeah.
I think
Not first ballot.
no.
No.
I think the whole cheating scandal thing will be in the back of their minds, but his numbers outside of that year just stupid. Like
Mhm.
I mean, I used to have an Altuve jersey, 2015 All-Star Game jersey. I was in on Altuve, but just like knowing how small he is and the things he's able to do within his body is just nuts. And what is he now? 33?
Yeah, to get
Getting
this bag in your 30s is pretty impressive.
it and just he deserves it. He's it doesn't look like he's slowing down at bat. I mean, he's been meh in the field the past couple years, but he's there to hit. And that's what the Astros need him to do.
I like this deal more than the Xander Bogaerts deal. I think that deal is going to be a train wreck coming down the line. I mean that thing is just an absolute train wreck. I think it surpasses the Rendon deal down the line.
This
I really
Altuve deal
do.
to me makes sense.
Yes,
Like
100%.
Jacob, can you
Would
go
Xander get 11
episode
years
without it?
Xander got 11 years at age 29.
Yeah.
Like, it's not great.
It's not like
I get
Xander had his
Altuve's in
best
his
season.
30s, but they didn't overpay necessarily. They're literally paying the guy. It's like 30 million the first 4 years and then 10 mil the last year.
It's a good deal.
So yeah, it's smart. And I think the least shocking signing around the league is Kershaw staying with the Dodgers. Even
It
though we
just had
hear
to
every
happen,
year
yeah.
how he's going to the we hear every year he's going to the Rangers.
I'm still waiting for him to go to Arlington, his hometown.
Patiently waiting.
Next year. It'll be next year. If not, the year after that.
Just
Yeah,
scrolling
when he
down his
meets up with
baseball
Matt.
reference page and seeing all those years with the Dodgers and then 1 year with the Rangers.
It's gonna happen. He's retiring in Arlington.
Is that when he meets up with his childhood friend and high school teammate Matt Stafford when he's the Cowboys quarterback? So the state of the union of the Bucks. Obviously, the start under Doc hasn't been great, but I don't. Cal, you know better than I do. I don't think it's as bad as it looks.
Absolutely. They're 1-4 under Doc, but you can't expect Doc to come in the middle of the season and just magically go on 5-0 run, especially not during the middle of a West Coast road trip. He's cleaning things up, especially on defense. Justin Garcia from the Bucks Radio Network noted on Twitter last night that since January 27th, the Bucks have the 8th best defense in the league, which the Bucks have capable defenders. And on this past road trip, Brooke just had his first child. Congratulations to Brooke. So he's the anchor of the Bucks defense, protecting the rim. Dame missed the game, and now Chris potentially could miss games on the road. To be able to have that defensive intensity while you're on a long West Coast road trip playing against good teams, it's pretty positive thing to see, especially with what we saw. They're creating turnovers, which Adrian Griffin wanted to do a lot. He wanted to put pressure on ball handlers sometimes at half court, which didn't result in many turnovers and led to a lot of easy buckets. But rebounding is also improved, which we do have capable rebounders, so we want to see more rebounding. But overall, 1-4 throughout Doc, but there's a lot to be impressed about. So Bucks got to make some moves. They need to get defenders. So I'm encouraged by what Doc has done so far. Just bringing in that new voice, getting players to buy in. I like what I've been seeing so far, despite the record.
And they started Doc off on a 5-game, 9-day road trip against some of the better teams in the West.
Yeah, he hasn't even played a game at home yet.
That's tough for
Or coached a
anybody.
game.
That's Thursday night, right?
Yes,
Against
Timberwolves.
Minnesota.
Hopefully
So that's
Bobby's
another
gone.
tough one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean the trade deadline this will be posted Thursday, so today. Bobby's probably gone, right?
Hopefully.
Unfortunately.
If in the right deal, yes. Which that could potentially be Andrew Wiggins, DeJounte Murray. Those are probably the only two guys. And Bruce Brown, because he'd have to be in that for salaries to match up. But for those three guys, I would move Bobby. Anyone lower than that, I most likely would not, just because the Bucks don't have a lot of big men on the roster, and I really don't want to see Robin Lopez touch the court anymore. But I think Pat is for sure gone, just because he makes more sense salary wise. You can give up Pat and get a lesser guy, more of a defender. But
And AJ Green is good.
AJ Green has been really serviceable. He hits the 3 ball better than Pat, and I was a little iffy on his defense coming in there this year, but he showed me these last few games that he can defend at a pretty solid level. He's a good team defender, which is what we need.
I'd hate to see Campaign go just because he's a vibe,
He is a very big vibes guy.
but he hasn't played great with the Bucks, and he was a guy that was really excited when they signed. So I thought he'd be a nice backup point guard, but it just
Hasn't
he's
worked
aging.
out.
I think there is a possibility that both Pat and Bobby stay. Yesterday during the game, Brian Anderson mentioned on the broadcast that Doc and Pat went out golfing while they're in Arizona, which he said he's trying to get to know the players better. And I can't imagine there's many golfers on the Bucks, and I know Pat's a big golfer as well as Doc, so it could just be that. But there is a possibility they might just move Marjan, Campaign, and or Ajax, which Doc hasn't really played those younger guys as much, so there's a lot to unfold.
Yeah, there's some interesting targets out there that I've heard, like Bruce Brown, Dorian Finney-Smith. I think Wiggins probably makes the most sense, but
Yeah, I
I'm
think he'd
all
probably
in
be
on
nice.
finding a way to bring in DeJounte Murray and DeAndre Hunter together.
That'd be a nice
Just
deal.
so I don't know
I mean,
how they get it done. The Bucks have no assets.
they said the same thing with Dame, though, like moved in silence and then out of nowhere, just get that
Nowhere
random.
they hit it.
They got it done. But if they got
Worse than
DeJounte Murray,
Arnold.
that makes Chris Middleton your fourth option. It's pretty lethal.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they do move Bobby and or Pat, just thanks to them for bringing everything. They're key in that 2021 championship run. Always will be legends in the city. Don't want to see them go, but there you go.
Bobby.
I mean,
I just remember that year, just the amount, just going to Miller Park, hearing Bobby
Yep.
chants and Rowdy chants at the same time.
It was
electric
fun.
time for the city.
It was electric, but I feel like Bobby served his purpose in Milwaukee.
And
Same with Rowdy.
Bobby took
It-
discounts too. He could have gotten a bag from a team in free
Oh,
agency, but he
yeah,
loved the city so
100%.
much. The city embraced
Yep.
him. It's hard not to pass that up and stay with a city that loves you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. There's a lot of expectations that the Bucks are going to make a move. Who that move is for is yet to be seen, but
And with the play-in tournament now too, there's a lot less teams that are selling, so teams might be more inclined to keep their guys and for some reason try and make that play-in tournament. But I mean, the Heat are different because they just flipped the switch in the playoffs, but they were in the play-in tournament last year, knocked off the Bucks, made it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yep.
yeah, this play-in tournament kind of feels like when now that MLB's expanded their postseason and feels like nobody wants to give up their fringe team.
Mm-hmm.
So makes it tough. Moving on to the Packers. We finally have a new defense coordinator, and no, Joe Barry's not sticking around in any fashion like was reported.
Enjoy Miami.
Yeah. Jeff Hafley leaving Boston College as the head coach to join the Packers staff. This can be a whole new style of defense. We're talking 4-3, press man, single high safety. Credit to Mitch Wolf, who I got to talk to a little bit last week, right after this went down. Mitch is with BC Eagle Insider, so he's a reporter from Boston College, and he kind of gave me some lowdown, some interesting numbers compared to Barry with Hafley. So Hafley plays man coverage 40 played at Boston College, so these numbers will obviously change in the pros. Played man coverage 43% of the time, which is the fourth most in college football. Meanwhile, Joe Barry was at 20.6% of the time, good for 27th in the NFL. 37% of the time, Hafley's playing cover one compared to Joe Barry, who's 24th in the NFL at 17.4%. And then this one Packer fans are going to love. Zone coverage. Hafley plays zone coverage 52.8% of the time, which is third to last in college football. Compared to Barry, who was 72.2% of the time, which was eighth most in the NFL. So it's going to be very different, and that's even more evident by the staff they're bringing in. So they retained Jason Rebovich. I hope I'm saying that right. Sorry if I'm not. He was the pass rush specialist last year under Joe Barry, and now he's the D-line coach. They even brought in an assistant D-line coach, Vince Ogabasi, who was the D-line coach at Boston College with Hafley. So it's a guy Hafley trusts. Anthony Campanile. He's coming over from the Dolphins, same position. Have you guys seen the video of this
I've seen
guy?
that clip. That is a
clip of him in
crazy
Hard
clip.
Knocks.
Yeah.
Yep.
This dude is legendary, and he hasn't even coached here yet. Ryan Downard is a holdover from Barry's staff as the DB coach. I think that's a fine move. The DBs were solid, and it's probably a guy that wants to play more man coverage anyways. That's why he's sticking around. And then Derek Ansley is the pass game coordinator. He was the DC with the Chargers this past season, and he took over play call in the last 3 games. And they put QBs in a blender when this dude took over play calling duties as the DC. Like, there's just a very obvious trend with this group, and it's all aggressive, in your face. I'm going to knock you out. As Jay-Z loves to say, no fake tough guys.
No fake tough guys. One thing that I'm like seeing over and over again, it's they are gonna let their athletes be athletes. They draft high level athletes very early in the drafts, and then they want to pigeonhole them into the zone coverage and complicated passing off and all that fun stuff. Where now it's you have your man, you better guard that man. And that is exactly why you're being drafted to play for the Green Bay Packers. It is a whole new style of defense, and I couldn't be any more excited.
Yeah, just like coming off of that, Jair Alexander is one of the best man coverage cornerbacks in the NFL. Like he was drafted as a man coverage cornerback, and he gets thrown in a system where it's zone, more zone, a lot of zone. And then on the opposite side, when he's not hurt, Eric Stokes, his main tool is his speed. And what does speed work well in? Man coverage. They drafted man coverage secondary guys to play zone coverage, which to me just doesn't make any sense. If you have
Carrington Valentine as well.
He screams man coverage.
Like Carrington Valentine is the ultimate press man cornerback. So you have 3 viable cornerback options that all want to play man coverage. They all want to play press. Anytime like you'd watch the Packers secondary, Valentine just looked out of place when he was playing 6, 7, 8 yards off the ball. It almost seemed like he kept wanting to creep up to play that press. Because it's what he does. It's what these cornerbacks want to do. They don't want to drop back into zone coverage because they want to be ball hawks.
I mean,
Yeah,
coming into the season, they don't even need to be the #1 defense. Just hover around that, like finish the season, 9th, 10th, around there, this team's
Even
going to do some
15th.
damage. Yeah.
Even 15th at like league average.
Yes.
Yeah,
Which
be
I think-
average.
Yeah, like
They have more potential to beat. They have potential to be more than
we
average,
are
but
we are starting with the bar very low because even that small little bump of a handful of teams and defensive ability, like they have the athletes to make a small jump and then even just shoot up those boards too, just based on how guys are going to be able to now flourish and actually use those like high level RAS scores, like why they were drafted to become and be brought to Green Bay to be those athletes that they are.
so with this hiring, the Packers are probably going to draft a safety, if not two, during this draft. Are we all in agreement with that?
I
Yes.
just don't see
so
how you
this-
don't do that.
This feels like 2019 all over again. You remember they signed Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith?
They get
They
Amos that year
cleaned
too.
out that room.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But they cleaned out the outside linebacker room, and then drafted Gary and signed Preston and Zadarius. Like they reloaded completely. Feels like exactly what they're gonna do this year with the safety room. And I'm also not gonna be shocked if a couple more linebackers go early, especially going to a 4-3. They need to get more. They need more depth at linebacker, and they're going to need more athletes. I think the guy that's going to take the biggest leap. I know we all want to talk about press man and playing single high safety, but I think the guy who's actually going to take the biggest leap in this 4-3 system is going to be Lucas Van Ness.
That's exactly
Starting in
what I was
week
thinking.
9, when he got to put his hand in the dirt, he was much more disruptive. And I was curious, so I looked it up. He is 1 inch taller and 6 pounds heavier than Nick Bosa, who plays with his hand in the dirt.
3 down linemen.
So, yeah. I mean, and I think my favorite thing about Hafley, and if you haven't, I encourage going to listen to the Adam Brennan
Yes.
podcast.
Yes.
Hafley talks a lot about, disguising coverages, but keeping it simple. And so, like, it's going to look like too high, and then all of a sudden it's rotated down. There's more guys in the box, and you can't run the football. And I know people want to look at those numbers from Boston College and like, oh, they're not. It's Boston College. They were the 70th ranked defense overall in college football. Please remember that it's Boston College, and he's not getting dudes that are going to Alabama, Michigan, LSU, Florida State, Clemson, Ohio
If
State.
you haven't noticed,
like,
those schools in Massachusetts aren't that good at football.
He was 6-6 at Boston College, which is really impressive
That's
to even be
serviceable.
at there.
Especially in the ACC.
Yes.
3 years, 3 bowl games,
That's
Wow.
And
winning.
beat-
That's winning for them. Yeah.
and beat a ranked team in their last bowl game. I get
all
he
that
was on the
matters.
chopping block, though, but, I mean, I think he's starting a trend, though, where we're going to see college coaches leaving. Chip Kelly is pretty much doing everything he can to not be a head coach at this point. He interviewed for the Seahawks offensive coordinator job today. So, like, this isn't going to be an uncommon thing where a dude's leaving college football to make the leap to being a pro coordinator, because college football at this point is free agency. It is, as the head coach, you're not coaching football anymore. You're making sure the families are happy. You're making sure the players are happy. You're making sure someone got paid. It's so much less about ball, and Hafley just wants to coach ball.
That is, I think, a direct quote from him too. Like he just wants to get in and just coach football for once, and him being able to hop in as a defensive coordinator, do the thing he loves and is passionate about. And usually, when guys have that extra grit and passion with it, you really can see it within the team. So I'm really excited to see what he has to offer.
I just read an article last night from The Athletic. It was what the Badgers' finances were during their official visits. I mean, they had a laser tag set up at Camp Randall, which credit to the Badgers for modernizing how they have to recruit. But to see all that, they went to all these expensive steakhouses. They bought all this food, liquor to host the parents at Fickle's house. I don't blame them for wanting to get out of that, but it's just a crapshoot in college football now.
Yeah, I'm excited for Hafley. I'm excited for this staff. It is coming together even better than I anticipated, and I expected Hafley to have a nice staff. Um, I also know that the Packers hired an assistant wide receiver coach who also is coming from the college game. So this dude was the wide receiver coach. I think it was at like Miami, Ohio, or something like that.
Oh,
And
yes,
now
I
he's
did see
coming
that,
to be
yeah.
the assistant wide receiver coach in the NFL. It kind of tells you what coaches think of the college game right now.
Another
Just
hiring we
one
haven't
big
even
old mess.
mentioned is what's his name? Sean Mannion coming in to work with the
Yep.
quarterbacks. Tom
Yep.
Clements is staying, thankfully, but
Yeah, assistant quarterback coach and helping out with the pass game. Like, I feel like they just made up a position. They're like, yeah, I mean, Mannion, if you want to come hang out, give us some Viking intel, come on down.
it's going to be a fun
But
year next year in Green Bay.
Will be
we
very
said a lot
fun.
of things just to get to this is the anti-Joe Barry.
Yeah, basically, like everything that we
Essentially.
talked about, it is like not Joe Barry, not Joe Barry, not Joe Barry. Yep, that is exactly what Matt LaFleur wanted with his next defensive coordinator, and he got it.
Yeah. Good luck to Joe Barry in Miami, though, as their linebacker coach and run game coordinator. They must like giving up 200 yards.
So an oxymoron to give him run game coordinator.
It really is.
He's coordinator for the other team.
I will say he was a very good position coach.
Yes.
Yes.
Not a great coordinator.
That's how a lot of coaches are, but
Yep.
he worked his way up to get to that position and just didn't work very well.
With another
You got-
NFL tie back to college, came out today that Vrabel may be hanging around the Wisconsin football program this spring.
Yeah, he'll be at the spring practices, I believe. I mean, it's just a really good voice to have within your program. Fickle and Vrabel were college roommates, still good friends, obviously, to this day. This is only going to benefit. People were doubting it would happen. People wanted to bring him on full-time as staff, which is just unrealistic. But to get him in any capacity is a huge win.
Yeah, and I saw it. If he enjoys it, then there's some sort of position that could be had for him. This feels like what Jimmy Leonard is doing with Illinois,
Yeah.
where it's like special assistant to the head coach.
They another article just came out today about what he's been up to, and I believe someone said that he doesn't want a college job and he wants NFL, which going back ties with what college football is becoming. So
Yeah, I saw Vrabel wanted to be a DC too, but no, but he didn't get any offers.
yeah, people said he was too big and intimidating, which he's
That's
a
just
former NFL
outrageous.
player.
What do you think? Like, do you think the NFL guys are small? Like, what? No.
Yeah, they're all
That was
Kayvon
wild.
Austin out there trying to coach.
I mean,
Nothing-
all these players that have played for him, Derrick Henry, Taylor Lewan, they've had nothing but good things to say about him. Like, you have players
Nothing-
vouching for you.
Nothing like a former coach of the year, not even getting a pro job, and now is a special assistant at UW-Madison.
Crazy time.
Just wild.
It's gonna do nothing but help with recruiting, though.
Yes.
I mean,
100%.
we're watching this dumpster fire at Michigan, losing their entire defensive staff. And Jalen Williams, who is crystal ball to Michigan, is literally tweeting out, "Gonna have to change those crystal balls." Well, you know who seems to be number 2 on that list
The Wisconsin
is
Badgers.
Wisconsin and Coach Scruggs.
He ain't
He
playing.
ain't playing.
He ain't playing. He's a great coach. I love his social media presence. Really to the times this year with what you had to be doing as a college coach. Which
Great
most
energy.
all the staff is, to be honest.
Yeah, did you see the picture of one of them lining up as a defensive back on a recruit?
Yep.
That's pretty funny. Thomas Heiberger bumped to a composite 4-star by 24/7.
Oops.
Oops. That's
Oops.
in case you
That's a
didn't
good one.
know. 11 of the 23, 24 prospects are 4-star or considered blue chip prospects. Sorry, Tom.
Who would have thought that you could get high level recruits from out of state?
I thought they all had to be from the state. Did not know this.
It's like an NCAA 14 rebuild at this point.
Get as many guys in as possible and just let the rest handle itself.
Yep.
Like, along
Someone's
with those
gotta
11 blue chips,
That's
I mean,
impressive.
the transfer class is unbelievable.
And with recruiting too, their current indoor practice facility, which is a big part of recruiting, is a dump right now. And they're getting a new one within the next year or two. That's going to be huge for recruiting.
Yeah, they do a great job. And kind of circling back to that article you referenced, I saw it was over $837,000 they spent on food alone.
That's just crazy.
But they got 11 of those 23 guys that visited to commit within like a month of that visit. So
He knows how
whatever
to
they're
bring 'em
doing,
in.
keep doing it.
Mhm.
Nobody's gonna question you if you're doing it right or winning.
If it ain't broke, why
True.
fix it? Hasn't proven to be broken
Exactly.
yet.
That's what college football's come to.
Gotta do it. It is Super Bowl week. Not that we've forgotten, but I don't know. I'm like, I'm excited, but I'm like not. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be Ravens 49ers, which I would have been pretty excited for that matchup. I'm a big fan of the New Heights podcast, so I'm leaning Chiefs. But this also feels like, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, the worst Chiefs team I've seen in the last 6 years.
Oh,
And that just
easily.
shows how good they've been
Oh.
too.
Absolutely.
And last year, their wide receiver one was Juju Smith-Schuster. No offense to Juju, but
Boo-boo.
Now
He was-
it's
he was Boo-boo Smith-Schuster.
Rasheed Rice.
CTESPN.
I'm
That's
going
gonna
with the
do well.
Chiefs. I can't pick against them. Every time I do, they prove me wrong. I can't go against Mahomes. But I'm at the point where it's just like, let's get this over. Get me into March, where we got March Madness, we got the Masters, and then opening days right there. That's when life's at its best right there. Let's just get there.
Absolutely. This is the best case scenario for the NFL marketing wise. All their storylines are lining up together. I feel like some of the fans are missing out on a decent matchup, especially with the Ravens, like AJ mentioned. I really like that Ravens team, and for them just to fall flat on their face in front of everyone, we're all left scratching our heads. So I guess since I really like the Ravens and I would have picked the Ravens to win this game, I guess I'm riding with the Chiefs. Not overly excited for the game, so I guess I'm riding for the Chiefs.
You know, unfortunately, we're all in on the Chiefs because I'm Chiefs. But I wouldn't be surprised to watch the 49ers do what they did the past 2 weeks. Just like look not like a football team in the first half, just to explode out of nowhere in the second half. Just I don't know. It's I feel like it's gonna be a really good Super Bowl. I feel like it's the Chiefs have a really good defense and the 49ers are a really good offense. It's gonna be the battle of can the 49ers score? Because I feel like it's gonna be a lower scoring Super Bowl than people are gonna realize, just based on how good the defenses are.
Yeah, I saw a prop bet that was like Trent McDuffie pick 6 to win, or pick 6 and the Chiefs win by exactly 6. It was like plus 50,000.
If you're betting that, call the helpline. Call the helpline.
He's
I
gonna
would-
do it though. He's gonna do it.
me personally, I would go L'Jarius Sneed for the pick 6
The
and
value's
Chiefs
there.
to win by 6, but Trent McDuffie probably has a higher plus. So
Hey, this is not gambling advice, Gabe. You cannot give gambling advice.
I ain't giving no gambling advice. That wouldn't.
If you take that as gambling advice, we really should have a sit down talk.
If that hits, I will not. First off, I will not be putting any money on it. Second off, if that hits, there's something wrong. I don't know what's wrong, but there's definitely something that is wrong.
if
Flip it.
that hits, we're gonna see the 500 FanDuel tweets about how it hit and like
You could be the person next.
yeah,
Yeah,
no
okay,
thanks.
Give FanDuel more money, please.
It's a donation at that point.
Honestly.
But please hit the hotline if you're betting like that. It's in every gambling commercial. They do it for a reason.
I mean, if you go with the prop bets, go ahead. The coin toss, the Gatorade color.
One time a year, go right ahead. Okay.
That's
It's
fun. But if you're hitting on a Trent McDuffie pick 6 and win by exactly 6,
You're just
boy,
seeing
do
the
we
future
need
at
to
that
talk.
point. Where you're seeing the future.
Yeah,
Come
I'm gonna
on.
need the lotto numbers if you hit on that one.
Stop it. Get some help.
I don't. You guys remember the last time these two teams played in a Super Bowl? What happened after?
Yeah, we had a global pandemic. Right?
Does that mean we need the 49ers to win?
Yeah.
So we don't
I mean,
even tempt fate
it was an election year that year too.
with this
Oh, yeah.
with likely the same candidates.
Yeah.
We're not trying to say anything.
Jacob's feeling it right now.
Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs?
I am feeling it now. I am feeling it now. No words, just questions. No words, just questions.
This is still a sports podcast.
Yeah, no political talk here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fine Super Bowl, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if I've talked to really anybody besides my couple of Chiefs fan friends who are like actually excited. I know like one 49er fan, and he's like, I hope we win, but like we also should have lost to both the Packers and the Lions.
It doesn't have that Super Bowl aura around
No.
Is it because it's Vegas?
I think it's
possible.
Kind of because it's Vegas, and it just feels like neither of these teams deserve to be in the Super Bowl. It seems like they've just scaped by in the playoffs, which is how you have to win in the playoffs.
Oh,
But-
yeah.
But like it doesn't. It seems like they're never the front runner in that game. At least I don't know about Chiefs Ravens because I was working a baseball camp, so I can't really talk on that game.
For the kids.
But for the kids, always for the kids. But that 49ers Lions game, it was Lions the entire
49.
Can you say that any more enthusiastically? Always.
49ers Twitter would agree with you that they have been underdogs in like every game they've ever played.
I'm not saying that they're underdogs. They were favorites, but
In
they
20
didn't-
straight games.
they didn't look like the favorites in both of those games. I don't listen to the 49ers Twitter page that says always underdogs. They are favored to win the Super Bowl. You can't be underdogs if you're favored. That's not how it works.
I think that was my favorite tweet of the last week is like their tweet said against all odds. And everybody's like, what are you talking about?
What
You have
odds?
literally been the favorite every week for the last 20.
It's just not being in touch right there. Social media person has to be better.
49ers social media. If there's a minus next to the name, it means your favorite.
Hey,
If
we're
there's
not a gambling
blog-
podcast, and
We
know
are not
that.
a gambling podcast. Not
maybe-
gambling advice.
I'm not saying it's gambling advice. I'm just
It's common
if you're
sense.
if you're looking at like we know what the gambling things mean. It's not that we're doing it.
It's just
It
common
just
sense. At
minus
this point.
means
It's the world we
good.
live in.
Maybe
plus
maybe
means
the
bad.
maybe the bye week was favored.
I don't
That's a
know.
tough
That-
opponent.
That Jake Kuda post I've seen there hasn't been an NFL team to lose to the bye week yet since like the 2000s. So they might have been underdogs, but who knows?
I think the Packers in 2018 lost to the bye week with Mike McCarthy.
That was an eventful year for the Pack that year.
Very much so.
Shout out Joe Philbin.
Joe Philbin.
Great interim coach.
Last I heard, he was at Ohio State as an analyst.
He was getting mentioned for the Iowa offensive coordinator job. I heard it was between him and Chris, and none of them got it. And they hired some guy who was just pathetic.
Yeah, he was the Packers analyst this last year.
Yes.
And in 2022, he was the offensive coordinator at Western Michigan, where they had the 127th ranked offense. Perfectly Iowa.
Iowa.
Western. Nice Kalamazoo.
Hey, real quick though, if Bill O'Brien does get hired at Boston College, like it's being reported, Paul Christ's name's been mentioned as the replacement to him at Ohio State as the offensive coordinator.
That would be awesome. Hey, Paul
Along
Chris.
with-
Paul Chris good.
He went to the college football playoff this year. People forget that.
Along with Joe Moorhead.
Yeah, horns
They-
down.
They didn't even give Chris a crew neck at Texas.
Yeah, they gave him a hoodie. Like, what are we doing here?
Wow.
Let's get with the program.
Disrespect. Disrespect.
Horns down.
Cal,
move.
we can't do horns down. We're gonna get canceled.
That was the Big 10 or Big 12 gonna find me.
Yeah.
Apparently,
They're gonna
the SEC came out and said we're not protecting you from that.
Good.
Thank God.
Even better.
Good.
Even better.
It just
The
it just means
fact
more in the
that-
SEC.
the fact that BYU's student section got kicked out for putting horns down is just that's just crazy
Soft.
to me.
Hey, and
So
UCF is
soft.
classless.
First year in the Big 12. Of course, they're gonna make fun of Texas.
Texas, if you're going to be soft about horns down, the SEC is going to annihilate your life.
I
Yeah.
still think them moving to the SEC is a terrible move for them.
I mean, now the SEC and the Big Ten are teaming up
Yeah.
to solve the world's problems in college football.
I think
Well,
they are
that scares
responsible
me.
for this problem. I'm not a big fan.
no,
I'm not a big
no,
fan
no.
of the realignment. I'm more of a traditional guy
The
with the old
Pac-12.
conferences,
It's
but
all the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is the only conference that's at fault.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think what's going to end up happening in the future is there's just going to be, like, college football is just going to be its own entity
Mm-hmm.
and not be governed by the NCAA. But I feel like that's going to be a while down the road.
It'd be
Eventually,
like
the balloon's gonna pop. I
They're
really
gonna-
feel like
yeah.
the balloon's gonna pop at some point with.
They're gonna
college
make their own
football.
leagues.
Yep.
It's gonna be their own. They're gonna have like 6 different college football playoffs. The Big Ten, the SEC. Got to keep the MAC. MAC stays
always
around
got to keep the
forever.
MAC. Nothing better than
The
some midweek
Maction, the
Maction.
Maction has to be on a Tuesday.
Yes.
If the Maction college football playoff is not on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, they're doing it wrong.
And their championship has to be in Detroit still, because Detroit
Yep.
is MAC. Gritty
That is
city,
MAC.
gritty people.
No, you got to put the MAC championship somewhere in Ohio. Just something about Ohio.
All roads lead
screams
back to
MAC.
Ohio.
What? There's like 6 teams in Ohio in the MAC or something.
Akron,
Feels
Penn
like
State,
it.
Ohio, yeah.
Bowling Green.
Bowling Green, Toledo. Just put it in some
All roads.
random city in Ohio.
The
Yeah.
middle of Ohio.
Put
The
it at a
dead
high
center.
school field, yeah.
Put it at some random D3 in the middle of nowhere, Ohio.
Even better, just put it at like Mount Union.
Yeah.
That would be pretty funny. Well, that went rogue there for a hot minute. but-
Got a little off track.
A little bit.
Just a tangent.
But thank you all for joining us today. Do us a favor, please hit that follow button. Follow us on TikTok. Check out the new link tree in the X bio. Takes you to all of our socials.
Ooh.
All of our platforms, all of our socials. Give us follows on our personal socials.
Send us
Let's
some
build this.
questions.
Let's build this thing.
Yep. Join the
Yep.
army.
Brewer season is right around the corner. That's when it's really I feel like it's gonna start to take off.
That's when we're gonna
Be
hit
a
our
cheeser.
stride.
Be a
No fake tough
cheeser.
guys.
Nope.
No fake tough
None at
guys.
all.
No fake tough
We
guys.
aren't fake tough guys.
Peace.
See ya.